What's up, everybody? Welcome to the new year Apex Spine and Performance new wellness workshop series. Today, we're going to be starting with goal setting, aligning your goals and aligning your life right from the start of the year. So if you've ever tuned into us before, we've done these workshops. We have a whole new office remodel, a whole new way that we're going to go through this, and we're doing these live in person starting in February. This first month of January, you're going to see these posted on our YouTube channel. You'll see bits and pieces and clips as well on Facebook and on Instagram. Again, starting in February, these are welcome to the public, to our patients, to our whole community. We know that education is the most important thing that we as doctors can do for any of our patients. So let us begin. We're going to start with an intro, which is most people don't fail because they lack motivation. They fail because they lack a clear plan. So a lot of action has to take place before the actual execution starts with a goal. What do I mean by that? Well, at the start of the year, and again, I'm using this as January 1st, but again, any day is a new day. You can start a new goal any day of the year. So with this part of the year in January, we see this a lot of these New Year's resolutions. When we go to set goals, it's again not just about willpower, it's about clarity, consistency, and support. To me, I believe clarity is the most important of these factors. We have to have a clear plan. And in a few moments, we're going to get into a 3-step goal formula, laying this out. This is super simple. We've done goal setting in the past. To me, we have simplified this beyond belief. So I'm going to ask one of the questions, which is, who here has ever set a health goal and struggled with it? Pretty much every hand goes up when I ask this question. Whether I'm in a report with a patient and ask them this, everybody has done this before. They have a plan, but it's difficult to stick with it. Or maybe, we're going to go ahead and jump to this. Why do they most commonly fail? They're too vague. I want to be healthier. I see this all the time when I ask patients, what are your goals? Well, I want to lose weight. Okay. I want to be healthier. Okay. I want to be able to do X, Y, and Z. We really need to think about the why behind it. Or all or nothing. We started the year, I'm going to lose 100 pounds in 3 months. That is a tall order. For somebody who's been around healthcare and seen what is achievable, again, I think all these things are achievable. To an extent, we have to factor in what is a time frame that this can be achieved. No system or accountability. Systems. In business world, that's a huge thing that you hear about often now. What's the system? What's the standard operating procedure? Systems. Accountability. Aside from yourself, do you have a spouse? Is it your friends? Is it anybody else in your family? Is it a coworker? Is it a personal trainer? Is it one of your doctors? Who, besides yourself, are you keeping accountable to? And then the last one, again, we as chiropractors are always focused on the nervous system. Ignoring stress and ignoring recovery will totally stress out our nervous system. It puts us in overload. I see this with all patients. Stress from work stress, relationship stress, kid stress, financial stress, news stress. We are consistently stressed out. So one of the other things that we see with this is even the amount of time that we're on electronics. We're constantly in overload. So if we want to achieve X, Y, and Z from a goal standpoint, we have to know, are we also recovering well? And again, we can dovetail off into proper nutrition, proper exercise, proper sleep, all these other things. And then this month, we're actually going to talk about some of those. But again, back to the goal setting itself. And I can think of a few stories with some patients, one of which they wanted to run, or complete, I should say, a 5K. whether that was walking, jogging, running, or a mix of walking and jogging. But they put it as, I want to do a 5K. I want to be able to complete it. To me, that's a good start. They just want to complete it, not saying they have a certain time, it's just completion. And if I recall, this person could barely even walk into the office from day one. So thinking about that, well, was it vague? Not necessarily. They didn't just say, I just want to be able to run or just jog. They wanted to complete a 5K. So it was specific. Did they say they want to run a marathon in 2 hours? No. So what I saw with this patient is they put it as, here's the bar, here's the goal, here's the time frame. And there was a time frame with that. This patient came back in and said that they've completed 3. The first one they completed, the next one, the second and third one, it was a mixture of both walking and jogging. So to me, we set the standard. It was specific. There was a time attached to that. And then we actually overachieved it in the long run. So our 3-step goal formula. Now, I kind of already paraphrased some of this, making it clear and specific, focus on behaviors, and realistic and repeatable. I love this one. So we're going to dive into this. So step 1, clear and specific. Instead of I want to feel better, try I want to move without back pain so I can work and exercise more comfortably. This I love. Why? Because this is what we really strive to push for with our patients, of specifics. One of the biggest things that patients have kids or they have grandkids, 9 times out of 10, I will see something related to this. So, what are other clear goals that we may see? Well, I want to lose weight. What do we try? I want to lose X pounds in X timeline so that I can have the endurance to play with my kids or grandkids or, again, do X, Y, and Z. So with goals, I feel that we constantly are talking about either working out, losing weight, but what about some other goals that we may have? Maybe relationship goals. Maybe you're going with your significant other on a date once a month, once a week. Maybe with your kids, you're going to take them somewhere for an experience and do something with them. Maybe there's financial goals. Maybe there is work or being an employer or an employee. Business goals. These just don't totally revolve around actual physical health. It can revolve around a lot of things. So I want you to take a few moments when you're watching this and write down one clear goal that you want. And again, you could even do one clear goal per topic, as I mentioned. Relationship, kids, financial, work, spiritual, whatever those goals may be. Write one clear goal. Step 2, behavior-based, not outcome-based. We are a society that is driven off of outcomes. We rarely actually talk about behaviors. So with that being said, our outcome, maybe we do have lose 15 pounds. Our outcomes are motivating, but behaviors are the ones that actually create change. So thinking of that, behavior goals, walking 20 minutes 4 times a week, stretching daily for 5 minutes, or getting adjusted consistently. What I see works best with patients, with my team, with myself, we have to think about changing behavior. Now, I've been around health and fitness pretty much my whole life. From an athlete in high school to a chiropractor, these come easier to me because this is the world that I live in. But this is still challenging. I'm not a 22-year-old who's competing in powerlifting or CrossFit or bodybuilding anymore. These things evolve with you throughout your life. So, working out every day, 2 hours a day, for me isn't realistic anymore. these things have evolved, and it's harder to do these when we have more factors in our life. When you have a significant other, when you have a job, when you have kids, it gets harder. But the behavior is what we're after. One of the things I talked to the patient about yesterday is if you work at a desk job, and statistically 75% of our country does, what if every hour you had a timer that went off on your phone that said, I'm going to do 10 air squats and 10 push-ups every hour? If you work 8 to 10 hours, do the math. And maybe in the span of a day, that's an extra 200 or 300 calories that you're burning. And you're putting stress on your muscles. These are little behavior changes that you can do. And again, I'm just giving you some ideas. Again, I work an active job. I'm moving around, up on my feet a lot. I'm not just sitting behind a computer. So I can't necessarily relate totally, but if you could get up, move around, we know the health benefits about this. Back to a few years ago, we talked about 10-minute walks, how that helps our blood sugar, how that helps digestion in food, how that helps re-energize us so we don't hit that midday crash. So behavior-based versus outcome. Once we hit this outcome, unless we change the behavior as a habit and as our normal life, this will continue to come back around again. Fad diets, you see this. I got to that outcome, I lost 20 pounds, and I stopped doing it. And around we go. Number 3, realistic and repeatable goals. So I love this diagram. The way that I look at this is, let's go back to the individual who they wanted to run a 5K or even walk a 5K. What if they said right from the get-go, they could barely walk because of the pain they were in, and they wanted to go right to completing a marathon or a 100-miler? Let's start with a 5K. Let's get a couple of those under our belt. Let's reassess. How about a 10K? Let's reassess. Half marathon, and so on. These small and consistent steps help us build a solid foundation. Again, our nervous system. I talk a lot about this with travel athletes. And you think about young folks, and you really, for me, I think about this because we see it a lot, but how often do we think about a potential travel athlete? They have school. They have the stress of meeting their coach's expectations, meeting their own expectations, meeting their friends' expectations. All these expectations, and then they're practicing every day of the week, and then maybe they have a personal trainer, and I go into the category of recovery. What are we doing to recover from all these things? So we have to think about the stress that we put on our nervous system. Now, yes, it's true. Some people can handle stress in certain aspects of life better than others. So as a chiropractor, what we state creates subluxations, thoughts, traumas, and toxins. But a factor in there is a threshold. And if you've ever competed in fitness or really competed in anything, your threshold increases as your endurance and your strengths increase. So you're able to do things longer or harder. So if we put an emphasis on our recovery to allow our body to heal, we then empower these small and consistent changes. If it feels too easy, you're doing it right. Now, I like where the dial is here. Yes, it should be attainable, but it should challenge and push you as well. All right, so bringing this full circle, aligning our goals with our nervous system. Again, why I bring this up, because I see us as Americans and really our community, we live in stress, overwhelm. We rarely allow us to recover. Chiropractic care helps reduce interference, which helps our body adapt better. So, movement, healing, energy, stress response. What are things that we can do to support our goals? Well, as I mentioned previously, proper sleep. We've got to let our body heal. Regular movement. Movement is a natural painkiller. Again, easy example. If you ever put your hand on a stove or you shut it in the car door, you really want to shake it really quick because that helps natural painkillers. Movement is the greatest thing. When we don't move and we lose movement, we die. We've got to continue to keep this up our entire life. Stress management. Again, I've really been nailing this home with consistent chiropractic care. Again, pain management is what most people think about with chiropractic care. We do not do pain management. Pain typically brings patients into our office. We want to see people thrive and do the things and live life to the best of their ability. We want you to truly live your best life, not just stop when pain and disease happens. And we see this a lot between 40 and 65-year-olds who wait until something has happened. I have the statement, well, I've never had this until just 3 weeks ago. Well, the odds are all this has been going on for a very long period of time, and now your system has just broke down enough that you're feeling that. So, your health goals aren't about perfection. Progress. I have tried to always perfect anything and everything, but when we're more concerned with progress and improving, that is when we get to the top where we want to be. So, small steps done consistently create big change over time. Again, when we go back to our small and consistent building blocks, think of it this way. Think of those little aspects again of life. Health, spiritual, relationship, kids, financial, work, and continue to build little things over time so that in January of 2027, you look back and looked at writing that one clear health goal and those other clear goals in those sections and can check off that box. I completed that and I actually overachieved that. So, with all that being said, coming full circle, our upcoming wellness workshops. Next Tuesday, we're going to be talking about exercise. Move well, feel well. Exercises that actually work. January 20th, our diet, feed your body, heal your life. Again, not about fad diets. This is about actual nutrition to get results. January 27th, cold and flu. We're going to be talking about defending and thriving versus just putting the fire out. Obviously, the fire's already ablaze. We're going to talk about how to help manage that. But what are things you can do ahead of time so that we fight these things off? Last but not least, again, in January, we're going to be posting these on YouTube, Facebook. Again, in February, our goal is to have more people in our office going over these, a lot more interactive, so that you can have a Q&A with all three of our doctors here in the office. So, your body is designed to heal and adapt. Small, consistent inputs matter the most. Chiropractic supports the whole process. We're here as a resource. If you ever need anything from us, feel free to shoot us a message, give us a call, come in for a consultation. We look forward to having a wonderful, amazing year. Again, educating our community one workshop at a time.